Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranams, Haribol, Haribol. Welcome everyone. Welcome. Today is the 19th, correct? 19th of March 2024. And today we all went to Gangamata to offer our heartfelt vows, our sankalpa for the next week. And we're hopeful that it will go forever. Whatever our vow was today, we can be considering that this vow can be refreshed. My Gurudev used to say, at least 5 times a day, readjust your compass and focus on where you're going. What is your desire? What is it that you want? So what to speak of taking a vow? So this vow is very important because it helps to focus our attention on our desire, the fruit of our practice. What is the fruit? If we don't know where we're going, if we don't know that our sadhana bhajan is focused on bhav bhakti, and if we're not clear on what is bhav bhakti, then we have to do some study and we have to do some deep prayer to appreciate the nature of bhav bhakti. What's that? Kleshagni Shubhada. This is sadhana bhakti. Moksha Laguta Krit. This is bhav bhakti. This is what Rupa Goswami, he's giving us this direction. Then prema bhakti. That Sandra Ananda Visheshatma Sri Krishna Akashani Chasa. That prema. So this is our direction. So how is that vow that I'm taking today going to support that direction? We have to consider like this. Okay, so we'll sing a bhajan first, and then we'll discuss many different aspects of the glories and beauty of Sachinandan Gaurahari. Jadi Gauranga Nahito Tabe ke haito Kemone darita ke Gauranga Nahito. Louder. Radhara Mahima Prema Rasa Simha Jagate Janata Ke Radhara Mahima Prema Rasa Simha Jagate Janate Ke Gauranga Nahito Tabe ke haito Kemone darita de Haito Kemone darita de Madhura Vrinda Vipina Madhuri Pravesha Chaturi Sa Madhura Vrinda Vipina Madhuri Pravesha Chaturi Sa Varaja Juvati Bhavera Bhakati Varaja Yuvati Bhavera Bhakati Shakati Hoi Tokara Shakati Hoi Toka Yadi Gauranga Nahito Tabe ke haito Kemone darita de Ura de Gau Puna Puna Gauranga Raguna Sarala Hoi Omana Gau Puna Puna Gaurange Raguna Sarala Hoi Omana E Baba Sagare E Mana Dayala E Bhava Sagare, E Manodayala, Nadeke Je Kajana, Nadeke Je Kajana. Yadi Gauranga Nahito, Tabeke Haito, Kemone Darita De. Gauranga Nahito, Tabeke Haito, Kemone Darita De. Gauranga Bolia, Nageno Galia, Kemone Darino De. Gauranga Bolia, Nageno Galia, Kemone Darino De. Narahariya, Pasanadiya, Narahariya, Pasanadiya, Narahariya, Pasanadiya, Narahariya, Pasanadiya, Kemone Gadiya Che, Kemone Gadiya Che. Gauranga Nahito, Kavete Haito, Kemone Darita De. Gauranga Kemone Darita De. Radhara Mahima Prema Rasa Sima Jagate Janata Ke. Radhara Mahima Prema Rasa Sima Jagate Janata Ke. Radhara Mahima Prema Rasa Sima Jagate Janata Ke. Jaya Sachinandan Jaya Gaura Hare, Sachinandan Jaya Gaura Hare. Haribol. Oh Jaya Sachinandan Jaya Gaura Hare, Sachinandan Jaya Gaura Hare. Oh Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ramo, Hare Ramo, Ramo Ramo, Hare Hare. Oh Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ramo, Hare Ramo, Ramo Ramo, Hare Hare. Oh Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ramo, Hare Ramo, Ramo Ramo, Hare Hare. Haribo. Oh Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ramo, Hare Ramo, Ramo Ramo, Hare Hare. Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Haribo. Nitai Gaura Haribo, 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 Gaura Haribo. Jaya Nitai, Jaya Gaur, Jaya Nitai, Jaya Gaur. Oh Jaya Sachinandan, Jaya Gaura Hare, Sachinandan, Jaya Gaura Hare. Oh Jaya Radha, Madana Mohan Radha, Madana Mohan Radhe. Jaya Radha, Govinda Radha, Govinda Radhe. Jaya Radha, Gopinata Radha, Gopinata Radhe. Oh Jaya Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Shri Radhe. Oh Radhe, 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 Radhe. Jai Shishi Guru Garanga Ganhavika Girit Hari. Radha Madan Mohan Ju ki jai, Ji Radha Govinda Ju ki jai, Radha Gopinath Ju ki jai, Vrishabhanu Nandini Vajeshwari Radharani ki jai. Nityananda Rai ki jai, Sachinandana Gaudahari ki jai, Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur ki jai, Surabhi Kunj ki jai. Jai Nitya Lila Pravishta Om, Astotar Shishimad, Srila Bhakti Vedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj ki jai. Jai Nitya Lila Pravishta Om, Astotar Shishimad, Srila Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Jai Nitya Lila Pravishta Om, Astotar Shishimad, Srila Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Goswami Maharaj ki jai. Jai Jagat Guru Nitya Lila Pravishta Om, Astotar Shishimad, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada ki jai. Jai Paramahamsa Mahabhagavat Srila Gaurikishore Das Babaji Maharaj ki jai. Jai Saptam Goswami Srila Satchidananda Bhakti Vinod Thakur ki jai. Jai Vaishnav Sarvabhauma Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj ki jai. Jai Srila Baladevi Dibhushan Gaudiya Vedantacharya ki jai. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur ki jai. Jai Narottam Srinivas Shyamananda Prabhu Treya ki jai. Srila Krishna's Kaviraj Goswami ki jai. Jai Shri Rup Sanatan Shri Bhatta Raghunath Shri Jiva Gopal Bhattadasa Raghunath Sad Goswami Prabhu's ki jai. Jai Swarup Damodar Rai Ramananda Gauda Parsada ki jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki jai. Prem Sika Hol Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Shri Gauda Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopi Go Govardhan Dwadasa Vadmatmika Shri Braja Mandal ki jai. Shri Radhakun Shamakun Ganga Jamuna Devi Tulsi Devi Bhakti Devi ki jai. Shrimati Tulsi Brinda Devi Maharani ki jai. Shrimati Yogamaya Punamasi Devi Maharani ki jai. Gopishwa Mahadev ki jai. Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Sudarshan Chakra ki jai. Ketra Mandal ki jai, Sarva Vigna Vinashakari Shina Shingadev Bhagavan ki jai, Bhakta Prabha Shri Prahlad Maharaj ki jai, Charidam ki jai, Chari Sampradaya ki jai, Chari Acharya ki jai, Akara Mataraj Shri Chaitanya Mat ki jai, Shri Keshav Ji Gaudiya Mat ki jai, Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Shri Harinam Sankirtan ki jai, Ananta Kota Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai, Samagat Bhakta Vrinda ki jai, Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Bol. Om Timirandasya Gyananjala Shalakaya Chakshu Unmilitam Jena Tasmaye Shri Guruve Namaha Gurave Gaurachandraya Radhikaya Tadalaye Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tadabhaktaya Namo Namaha Priya Sarupe Daita Sarupe Prema Sarupe Sahaja Virupe Nijana Rupe Prabhu Eka Rupe Tatanu Rupe Svavila Sarupe Anapita Chirim Chirat Kuranavartino Kalo Samarapaitam Munnata Ujvala Rasam Swabhakti Shriyam Hari Purata Sundaratu Tikatamba Sadipita Sada Hridare Kandare Spuratu Vasachinandanaha Yam Pravajantamanapetyam Apetykrityam Dvaipaino Viraha Katara Ajuhava Putre Titam Mayatayo Taravo Vinirustam Sarvabhutam Hridim Munimanatoshmi Bhaktya Vihina Aparada Lakshay Shiptascha Karmarita Rangamadye Kripa Tvam Sharanam Prapana Prinde Namaste Charanarvindam Bhajami Radham Aravinda Netram Smarami Radham Madhurashmitasyam Vadami Radham Karuna Bharadram Tato Mamanasti Katyana Kapi Tavaivasmi Najivami Tvaivina Iti Vignaya Radhe Tvam Naimam Charanantikam. I'm first of all offering millions and millions of Dandava pranams unto the lotus feet of my beloved Gurudev, Nitya Lila Pravishta Om, Asto Tarasarashishi Shila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj. And I'm offering the same again, millions and millions of times, unto the lotus feet of our beloved Nitya Lila Pravishta Om, Asto Tarasarashishi Shila Bhaktivedanta Swami Shila Prabhupada, and all our illustrious Rupanuga Guru Varga, and all the Vaishnav and Vaishnavi devotees of the Lord. My Dandavat pranams to all of you. Vancha kalpa tarubhyascha kripa sindhavevacha patitanam pavnibhyo vaishnavena manoha. So we'll go through this beautiful bhajan that we sang just now, this Jadi Gauranga Nahite. Just find it. So this, of course, is by Narahari Thakur. This is the brother of Mukunda Shekhar. Narahari Shekhar, it's not Narahari Chakravarti. Narahari Chakravarti is a different personality. This Narahari Thakur is the brother of Mukunda Shekhar from not Kadapa, I forgot the name of the town, just south of here. And Mukunda Shekhar is the Ayurvedic doctor who, you'll remember the pastime, when he was treating the king one time, and a servant was fanning him with a peacock feather. And because he saw the peacock feather, he went into a trance and fell off the platform. And the king was very concerned. It's this Mukunda who is his brother, the elder brother. And the son of Mukunda Shekhar is Raghunandan, who in Krishna Lila, or in the spiritual world, is Pradumna of the Chatu Vyuha. So this is his son, and there's a beautiful Leela about his son. But Narahari Shekhar is the younger brother, and he had written many beautiful poems describing the pastimes of Vrindavan before Mahaprabhu had even advented. So he's older than Mahaprabhu. But when Mahaprabhu advented, he was with him constantly in Navadvip. He's a Navadvip Dham Vasi. Just trying to think of that township. Just, it's not Kardahar, but another place beginning with K. I can't remember it. Shrikand, maybe Shrikand, a place called Shrikand, just south of here, where many Vaishnavas were living. And he dedicated his life to, as soon as he had darshan of Mahaprabhu, he accepted him totally within his heart and understood his nature, because in the spiritual world, he's Madhumati, Manjari. And there's a beautiful pastime, if you go to his place, where he manifests a whole lake of honey. Because one time Nityananda came there in a mood of Balaram, and was demanding, bring me honey mead, honey water, like the Varuna juice that Balaram takes in Braj. So Narahari came out, and he picked a beautiful clay pot filled with this honey water, and the whole lake had become honey water, and you can bathe in it today, and it even have a slight sweetness in the taste today. But it's covered over, of course. Like everything becomes covered over. These things manifest, and then they become covered over from the degraded conditioned soul's eyes. If they were revealed, then the conditioned soul wouldn't know how to actually deal with them. They would exploit it. They'd probably put a label on it and start selling it, right? And this way, just like with Tulsi Devi, she keeps her fragrance covered. Tulsi Devi actually is the most fragrant plant in existence. She has the most intoxicating fragrance. And only in Swagaloka are they aware something of her fragrance. But in the spiritual world, they adore the fragrance of the Tulsi leaves, flowers. But here in this world, it's very much covered over. Even now they market it for all kinds of products and stuff like that. But at the same time, she keeps everything hidden. Just like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in his advent, he has to be covered because his pastimes are most confidential. Narahari Thakur, Narahari Shekhar, he would go to Puri regularly with all the Vaishnavas. The Vaishnavas would go once a year with Advaita. They would leave from Shantipur, Advaita, and Shivananda Sen. He would guide them and look after all the expenses and so on. And they would go, perhaps 100 together, down to Puri or more. And there's a beautiful description in the Chaitanya Charitamrita when they all enter Puri Dham, and King Prataparudra, he's standing on his balcony, and Gopinath is pointing out who are all these effulgent Vaishnavas who have just come from Bengal. It's a very beautiful pastime. And then they all come to take shelter of Mahaprabhu in Puri. So we were discussing the distinctions yesterday between Puri Dham and Navadvipa Dham. And we should understand from our discussion yesterday how Navadvipa Dham is this eternal Dham. Navadvipa Dham is much more superior than Puri Dham. Actually, all the pastimes in Puri Dham are nimitic. That means they're temporary. There are no dundas in Goloka Vrindavan. In Gokul, there are no dundas. The Sannyas Leela is not manifest in Gokul, that Leela of Mahaprabhu. So that pastime is nimitic, the Sannyas Leela in Puri. So for the last 24 years of it, just like Krishna's birth is nimitic, Krishna is born here. But in the spiritual world, he's always present. He never takes birth. Even though in the spiritual world, understand it clearly, in the spiritual world, there's a conception of his birth. There's a conception of his childhood pastimes. There's a conception of him killing all the different demons. But he doesn't ever actually do that. There's no demonic influences or elements in the spiritual world. But there's a conception that Krishna is our hero, and he has purified all these different demons, but they're not actually present in the spiritual world. So like this with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in Swetadweep, there's a conception of his pastimes in Puri, but it's all nimitic, these pastimes in Puri. And we understand that the principal flavor or the principal current in Puri, as we've discussed, is Vipralamba Bhav. And because this is the reason for Mahaprabhu's advent. Radhara Mahima Prema Rasasimha. We're going to discuss. Actually, we'll just read this translation now and then unpack it and open things up as we go through. So this beautiful pastime by Narahari Sakar. So if Gauranga, Sri Gauranga had not appeared, then what would have become of us? Think about it. Where would you be today if Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had not come? Horrible. You would not be here. And we would not know anything about Brajadam or Braja Prem. We would not know anything. Krishna, when he manifests, he's called Lila Purushottam. Lila Purushottam. He's come just to relish his own Leelas. That's why he's come. He hasn't come to distribute them. No one knew the pastimes, practically, of Krishna in Vrindavan. Sometimes word got through to some flower sellers in Mathura of his beauty and excellence, etc. But in principle, no one understood what is Krishna doing in Vrindavan. They're very confidential. Krishna in Parakya Ras with gopis? Oh my God, no, don't talk to me about those things. I cannot understand those things. I don't want to hear those things. This is how Paka Vaishnavas would think. Even if they heard something, a rumor, you know this Krishna in Vrindavan? He was dancing with other men's wives? Never, never. They would not be able to accept it. So these pastimes in Vrindavan are extremely closed and confidential, so that Krishna can relish them fully. The conditioned souls are not ready. They don't have the adhikar to hear these very intensely sweet pastimes. It takes time to purify the condition. The conditioned soul is very bad boy. He's turned his face away from Krishna for so many lifetimes. He can't just suddenly come back and expect to walk into a confidential reality of Krishna's pastimes in Vrindavan. Can he? It's like, you're a doctor. If someone is struggling from a disease for 20 years, it's going to take them more than a few months to cure that disease. It's not going to happen instantly. So similarly with this Krishna consciousness, it takes time to actually purify the condition and we've been hypnotized. I said the other day, like a psyops, it's called. We've been brainwashed to believe that we're these material bodies, etc. So it starts from there, unwinding that. That's the easy stage. Then to come to realize that you're spirit soul. But then the next stage, what is the activity of the spirit soul? If you haven't understood what is the activity of the spirit soul, you'll end up in the Nirvishesh Brahm, just relishing the bliss of that infinite, warm, loving light of Shantaras. And it's very, very attractive. And if you get there, you'll never, ever want to come out of there. Very, 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 very dangerous place. Gop Kumar, what happened when he went there? He was there relishing that. And all of a sudden, his dear friend, Shivji, Parvati, and their Sankirtan party, they came into that Brahman to pull him out. Don't stay here. Don't stay here. It's too comfortable. There's no desires. There's no disturbance of the mind at all. It's the most wonderful place, but there's no relationship there. It's Shantaras. There's no Sambandha. There is Shakti, we've understood from the 14th chapter. Yes, everything is Shakti that is manifesting from Shakti. So there must be Shakti, but that Shakti is of the Shantaras mood. And if we go into that place, then we're finished. You won't have the desire to come out. That's why you won't come out, because you won't have the desire to come out. We trap ourselves in there. Why was I saying this? I was talking about the length of time it takes. Yes, and without Mahaprabhu has opened up this storehouse of beauty of Braj. Mahaprabhu, Krishna is Lila Purushottam. Mahaprabhu is what? Prem Purushottam. Mahaprabhu is Prem Purushottam. What does that mean? He's tasting the Prem, therefore he can give the Prem. Unless you're tasting the Prem to a high degree, how can you give it? Just like Mahaprabhu, he wants to benedict the Jivas once in a day of Lord Brahma. A great expanse of time with this phenomenal gift of Raganuga Bhakti. Not only Raganuga Bhakti, but actually service to Sri Radhika directly. And this is Manjari Bhav. So in Jagannath Puri, it's described in Chaitanya Charitamrita, one of the spurtis or the experiences that are described of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is he goes and he has darshan of Radha and Krishna and all the gopis sporting in the water. And Mahaprabhu is acting like a manjari in that pastime. He's helping get the clothes together and everything like that. He's helping serve the gopis. That's the moods of the manjaris. They are in service to Sri Radhika. Sri Radhika is that Shakti, that potency, that power. And Krishna is Shaktiman. He's the possessor, the origin of that power. But this power, this potency of Radhika is what we worship in the form of Sri Radhika. And this is what Mahaprabhu has come to bestow upon the Jivas. And it's so confidential that not even Nityananda Prabhu will distribute this. Not even Advaita Acharya will distribute this. They will proclaim the glories of Gauranam, and they will send us to the lotus feet of Sachinanda Narahari, and he will give Krishna Nam, and he will bring us to Vrindavan Dham. Not Nityananda. Nityananda is giving Shuddha Bhakti, pure Bhakti, Prem, and Advaita Acharya also. But Gaura Ras, or Krishna Ras, or Vrindavan, Vraja Prem, that is exclusively gifted by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is non-different. Radha Krishna Pranaya Vikritya Hladini Shakti Asmat Ekatmanav Api Bhuvi Deha Bedam Taroto Chaitanyaikam Prakatam Aduna Tadvayam Chekyam Radha Bhav Tudisavalitam Nomi Krishna Sarupam. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is directly Krishna himself. We were discussing yesterday in that beautiful essay when Ramananda Rai, he saw Krishna covered by the golden limbs of Sri Radhika, but still there was a black luster there. It wasn't completely golden, there was this black luster. And Srila Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Maharaj, he describes very beautifully in that, what's that called? That Radha Vinod Bihar Tatvastikam. He describes one beautiful verse in this fifth verse of this Tatvastikam. He's saying that wherever all colors exist simultaneously to the same proportions, the result is like a golden effulgence. Just like within the sun. Within the sun, we see a golden effulgence because all the colors are mixing together in the same proportions. It's saying a golden hue is manifest. This is the result of all the colors mixing. This is Sri Radhika. And Krishna, in this blackish form, is where there are no colors. Where there is no color, what is the color? It's black. Where there is no light, it is black. So you have these two contrasts completely. You have the Shaktiman and Shakti, and they've both manifested as one personality, one entity. It's really helpful for us to understand the Siddhanta of Sachinandan Gaurahari. It deepens our respect for him. To actually deepen our awareness, I was just saying to Shobrani before, how every day as we associate with the Dham, as we practice our sadhan bhajan, naturally, daily, we will get fresher and newer appreciations and realizations of this supreme path and these supreme personalities and of the relationships between them. Naturally. And what does that invoke? A deeper and deeper and deeper respect. Respect is like a quality of love. If you have great respect for someone, it means you have a deep sense of honor and love for that person. So respect and love are like similar, isn't it? Would you say? Synonymous, would you say? Or just similar? Just similar, yeah. He's an English teacher. He's a professor. He's a professor too. He's a mathematics professor. So different. And he's a doctor. Okay, he's a mridanga player. Okay. So this is good to appreciate Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Maharaj's elucidation of this point of all the colors, if they're in equal proportions, become golden. And this is the golden complexion of Sri Radhika. And this is covering Krishna. But what does Rai Ramananda see? My Gurudev was very clear to describe yesterday there was some blackish behind. It wasn't completely, because he never loses his Krishna Abhiman. He's always Krishna. He wants to taste the bhav of Sri Radhika, but he is Krishna, tasting that bhav. So in Puri Dham, he's still Krishna, but he's really tasting that bhav to such a degree that he becomes like Sri Radhika. With her Sakis, Vrinda Devi, Lalita Saki, they are there, and he's relating with them. When we study the different books of Rupa Goswami and we appreciate, even just for a moment, how important these Sakis are to supporting Radharani. Radharani can never meet Krishna without the arrangements of the Sakis. Radharani is much too shy in one sense, and the whole dynamic of her relationship with Krishna, when she is apparently a married woman, and she's the most dharmic personality in existence. So how is she going to break that dharmic mood and actually have a lover? How is that going to be possible for such a dharmic personality without the help of her two most beautiful kaya vyuha, those personalities that have manifested from her body to support her? And Krishna, he has Madhumangal and Subalsaka. Without these personalities, actually they won't meet. Krishna initially, this is how Rupa Goswami describes it, Krishna is not initially so enamored by Sri Radhika. Not immediately. But Radhika, she is the one who is attracted first to Krishna. And then because of the deep attraction she has for Krishna, Krishna perceives that. And because of that attraction, he completely goes mad in love with her. But because of that power of that prema that they are both experiencing, a shyness will also come with it. They can't just open out their hearts because it's so massive, this bhav that they feel towards each other. So it creates some external shyness and contrariness, especially in Radhika. She's hankering all day to meet with Krishna. Finally, the Sakis, they bring her to Krishna, and as soon as she sees him, she turns around and wants to walk away again. That's not her inner desire, but somehow that's the immediate response to that. So these two personalities, Lalita and Vishaka, are there with Sachinandan in the Gambhira. How close a relationship do they have with Radhika? What moods can they infuse into Chaitanya? Mahaprabhu has been with Gadadhar a lot of the day in the Tota Gopinath, listening to all the Bhagavatam. No one can explain Srimad Bhagavatam the way Sri Radhika can explain it. My Gurudev says, not Shukadev Goswami, not Vyasadev, not anybody can explain the way that Gadadhar Pandit can explain it. Gadadhar Pandit explains it totally from the conception of Radhika. And my Gurudev says, Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada says, on every page of the Bhagavatam is Krishna's footprint. But my Gurudev says, in every letter of the Bhagavatam's verses is Sri Radhika. Every letter represents Sri Radhika. And if we read the Bhagavatam carefully with an education or a familiarity with Rupa Goswami and the teachings of our Guru Varga, we will appreciate what my Gurudev is saying. That in every, because Shakti, everything is coming from Shakti. The Sandini Shakti itself. What is the Sandini Shakti? That's the existence potency. Everything that has existence ultimately is emanating from Shakti Tattva, from Swarup Shakti. So how can we get away from Shakti? Everything is, it's like it's described how Shakti surrounds Shaktiman. Just like when you've got musk and its fragrance, the fragrance is surrounding the musk from the deer. It's completely encased within the fragrance. That is the effect of Shakti. It totally encases, it totally covers the origin of Shakti, Shaktiman. So this is...
Isn't it Chit Shakti?
Swarup Shakti
No,
is where everything is manifesting from.
But Sandini is existence.
Existence. Sangvit is synonymous with is Chit.
Yeah.
Sat, Chit.
So Bhagavatam can be Samvit, right?
Samvit Vritti, yes. Yes.
Because it's...
But that Samvit Vritti has existence. It's not impersonal. Right? It must have existence. It's not like the Chit Shakti of the Brahma Jyoti.
No, Samvit is like we are getting the Sambandha Gyan, right? Relation. Bhagavatam
Yes,
is full
yes,
of
yes. Relationship.
So Samvit is like
knowledge of that relationship, yes. Then the Hladini will be the taste of that relationship, yes, yes. So the Sandini is the existence potency of the personalities. Then the Chit Shakti is revealing the relationships between the personalities. And then the pleasure that the personalities experience is the Hladini Shakti. Sat, Chit, Ananda. Sandini, Sangvit, Hladini. We're very fortunate to have this Jaiva Dharma.
Yes.
You know, without this Jaiva Dharma to really simply, it doesn't make it all twisty and difficult. We just have to patiently sit with it, listen, and we'll get some beginning of comprehension. And as I've said so many times, gradually, over the years, we will become more and more familiar with these truths and their relationships with each other. Because this is what Babaji says at one point. He says, yes, we can understand these Shaktis separately, but when they are related with each other, that's when it becomes inconceivable. This achintya, it's inconceivable, so we can't understand it. But Mahaprabhu, he's giving something, he's giving so much to us to appreciate. His Gaura Lila in Puri is totally astonishing, but it's not as high as Navadvipa Dham. And Narahari Shakar, he only visits Puri, but he's a resident. He's a Dhambasi of Navadvip. Shrikand is the name of that place where he comes from, Shrikand. So if Sri Gauranga had not appeared, then what would have become of us? How would we have survived? Appreciate what you've got now. Just appreciate for a minute what tremendous sweetness you already have in your heart from chanting Hare Krishna, from absorbing the atmosphere of the Dham for so many years, from bathing in Ganga regularly, from the association of Vaishnavas, from reading Srimad Bhagavatam, hearing Chaitanya Charitamrita. What have we got from this? And this is all the mercy of Mahaprabhu. It's all his mercy that we have got that. So this current of prema is already beginning in our hearts. And today we took our sankalpa. And we could have prayed for that this current of prema will always increase in my heart, because that current of prema is addictively intoxicating. It's so intoxicating that we become addicted to it. We pray for that addiction to that sweetness of mood, and to have the courage to hold it, to sustain it, which means our practice must be always regular, and our association must always be available for us. And it doesn't necessarily mean that you've got to have 200 devotees associating with you. I don't believe that personally. Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Maharaj, he said, and I've quoted many times, you only need 3 or 4 like-minded souls to actually perform your bhajan with. You don't have to have a huge, massive crowd necessarily to support your bhajan. The crowds are just tremendous because it gives such an invigorating conception of the truth of Mahaprabhu's mission and how it's affecting so many millions of people. I'm saying this now, of course, right in the middle of the Parikrama here in Navadvipa, where today you must have seen millions of people on the roads, on the boats, everywhere, just completely. And I've described before how sometimes in the evening arti, especially during Gaur Purnim time, maybe 6 or 7 or 8 evening artis will begin at once, and each evening arti has maybe 1,000 or 1,500, 2,000 devotees in it, and the sound is so tumultuous, it seems to crack the sky. I've experienced that here in Navadvipa, the sound of Goranam. It is so powerful and so all-encompassing. So for the devotees to encourage that and to experience that kind of experience is very nourishing for our shraddha, because our shraddha is what seems to waver when we are not thick in our shraddha. For some reason or other, the mental wanderings can sometimes become confused, especially if I commit any type of offense, even unknowingly. It can trigger some type of mental reaction where I become disheartened. But when this shraddha is nourished by experiences like now, I mean, all the boats crossing the Ganga, and there are hundreds and hundreds of boats a day crossing the Ganga, and they're all jam-packed solid. And it'll be jam-packed solid. They look almost, I don't even know how they float. I mean, there's so many people in them. Even it's like getting onto those subways, when you're just cramming in rush hour time. They just push them in, push them in, push them in. It's like they're almost falling off. And this goes on for about 3 or 4 weeks, actually. It's not that after Gaur Purnim everything just empties out. It does empty out to a degree, but the boats are still packed. It's still full. But this is very inspiring. Why did Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada encourage all his disciples? They must come once a year to India and experience this, the number of people who are performing seva to but amongst all these hundreds of thousands or millions of people, how many are fortunate enough to actually appreciate the depth of the tattva behind Mahaprabhu? Who is Mahaprabhu? It's not so many. Really, it's not. Most will be focused on bhakti, on Shuddha bhakti, this bhakti that Advaita Acharya and Nityananda were freely distributing. But that Gora Prem, that needs to be carefully heard, studied, listened, practiced by those Shuddha Bhaktas who have that Gora Prem. They can share that with us. If Sri Gauranga had not appeared, then what would have become of us? How would we have survived? Who could have taught the world about the glories of Srimati Radharani and the topmost limit of Premras? So he says this in the same sentence. Who could have taught the glories of Srimati Radharani? This is the point. We remember just a few hundred years ago in Jaipur, they didn't even want Srimati Radharani to stand next to Krishna in Jaipur. Right? Govindadev was there in Jaipur. They didn't want the Smartas, the Ramanujas, etc. They said, where is your Basya? Where is your Praman? This Radharani, she's just like a consort of the Supreme Lord. She's not even his wife, not even his married wife, not like one of the Lakshmis. They were more familiar with the Vaikuntha Bhava of Lakshmis. But who is Radharani? And without knowledge of, and this is just a few hundred years, maybe 200 years after Mahaprabhu has left this world. And Srila Baladev Vidyabhushan goes there representing Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, because Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur became too old to go to Jaipur. And there, in 7 days, he wrote this Govinda Basya, a very comprehensive description, shastric, supporting fully, solidly, the authenticity of Srimati Radhika, the praman for her worship. This was directly spoken by Govinda Dev into the heart of Baladev Vidyabhushan. And that's why he's called it Govinda Basya. So without this, and this was just a short time ago, Baladev Vidyabhushan was perhaps the, the 1700s, something like that. That's what, 300 years ago. Huh? Basya means commentary, or it means meditation. Govinda Basya means the meditational commentary of the glories of Sri Radhika. But nobody in existence could have had even the inkling of an idea without the appearance of Mahaprabhu. Mahaprabhu, he infused even into the Sampradaya Dara, our line, from Ramanuja, Madhvacharya, Nimbaka, and Vallabha, the 4 Sampradayas. They all were supporting the idea that it's Krishna who is transforming into this world. Huh? Yes, this Vastu Parinamvad, that Krishna is transforming his energy into this world, that it's Krishna is the Vastu. But actually Mahaprabhu said no, it's Shakti. And this is what we've been discussing in the 14th chapter, brilliantly described by Bhaktivinoda Thakur. It is Shakti who is arranging everything. So we worship, we honor that Shakti. But not like the Shaktas. The Shaktas, they worship Durgama, and they have their hands out because they want something. We want something also. We want to please Sri Radhika. How can we please that monumental personality of Sri Radhika unless we know about her? And Mahaprabhu, taking that form of Sri Radhika, that mood and kanti, why was the whole world so enamored and attracted to Mahaprabhu when he wandered in South India with his arms raised, tears streaming from his eyes, chanting Gauda Haribol, Gauda Haribol, Gauda, chant, Hare Krishna, Hare. Why was everyone instantly attracted? Attracted because of the beauty. Beauty is the first angi, it's the first quality of Krishna, this beauty. And Radharani, she holds that beauty. It's that beauty that everyone perceived and completely fell in love with. Krishna also has this beauty, but he's not demonstrating it publicly, only in Braj, only confidentially in Madhurya Dham, which is Vrindavan. But Mahaprabhu, he goes into the whole world, basically. He travels throughout India. 2 years, 2.5 years, he's traveling in South India to all these places, demonstrating So many bhaktas came to him, and he bestowed prema. But what type of prema? Not necessarily Vraja prema. He bestowed the opportunity. He's put the spark there within the heart. And if they followed the teachings after that of the Goswamis, because it's only the Goswamis, it's only in their hands. This we have to understand conclusively. Mahaprabhu, he can give Manjari Bhav, because I've just explained that pastime in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, where he acts as a Manjari. If Mahaprabhu has not experienced that mood himself of Manjari Bhav, he can't give it. Like I've said before, if you want Sakhi Bhav in this world, if you want to dance in the Ras Leela with Krishna, who is the Sakhi that you're going to go to get that mood from? It's very scientific. It's very logic. It has to come from that. So Mahaprabhu, he can give that. But essentially, he just pours the nourishment into the heart of Rupa Goswami and Sanatan Goswami. Both of them live in Puridam for 10 months. Both of them. 10 months is a long time. Rupa Goswami, he witnesses the Rath Yatra festival. Sanatan Goswami also. They live at the Siddha Bakula with Haridas Thakur, listening to the Namacharya, chanting 3 lakh name a day. But even Haridas Thakur is not conscious to the same degree as Rupa and Sanatan. Why? Because what is the original identities of Rupa and Sanatan? They are the most confidential maidservants of Sri Radhika. Rupa Manjari and Lavanga Manjari. They're the most confidential maidservants. So this whole line of our Guru Vargya consists only of these personalities coming from the service of Sri Radhika. Because this was Mahaprabhu's mission. He wanted to give Radha to the world. This is what he's saying. Who could have taught the world about the glories of Srimati Radhika? Mahaprabhu was successful. He's taught the glories of Radhika in the world through this Guru Vargya, and specifically, particularly, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. We know the pastime, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, when he, for pastime's sake, appeared to discover this path. Initially, it's described in his biography that he couldn't even find a Chaitanya Charitamrita up until the age of about 25. And it appeared that he hadn't come to this path previously. This is just the workings of Yoga Maya to demonstrate Bhaktivinoda Thakur's life in this world. Yoga Maya will always cover the Mahabhagavat. The Mahabhagavats are not born thinking, oh, I'm a Mahabhagavat. They don't go to school telling all their friends, don't you know I'm a Mahabhagavat? It's not like that, obviously. They are completely, fully immersed in the mood of their material identity. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur is like this, to demonstrate the absolute glories of their seva, because Bhaktivinoda Thakur's contribution is inconceivable, what he actually contributed. He's the one who's uncovering all the Dharma energetically. We could almost say today that the reason why we have this parikrama, this Navadvipa Parikrama, is due solely to the discoveries or the uncoverings of Bhaktivinoda Thakur. It is because of him that we even know where the Yog Pit is. He discovered the Yog Pit. It wasn't on the map prior. He diligently uncovered all of the islands. He described about Navada Bhakti, how the 9 islands are all representing the 9 limbs of Bhakti. He described all the locations. Yesterday we were reading this place, Terrakadamba. How could we have had any idea of these places without Bhakti? And when Radharani saw the line prior to Bhaktivinoda Thakur was dark for 100 years. Dark in the sense that there was no prominent Acharya. After Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur was principally writing in Radhakund in Sanskrit. It was like somewhat closed. conceptions to the general public, which was ultimately not Mahaprabhu's intention. Mahaprabhu, even himself, was giving this holy name to the Harijans, to the most fallen of people in his time in Puri. So this line had become dark for 100 years. And then it's described how Srimati Radhika, she always carries a play lotus in her hand, who she slaps Krishna with sometimes. It's her play lotus. I'm not a female, so I don't understand why they want a play lotus, but the play lotus it's her toy that she has in her hand. Anyway, she throws this lotus into the world. And this lotus manifests as Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Kamala Manjari. What does Kamala mean? It means lotus. This Kamala Manjari is Bhaktivinoda Thakur. And then he opens this by the potency of Srimati Radhika. And by appreciating Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Gora Shakti, Namo Bhaktivinodaya, Satchit Anandanamane, Gora Shakti. Who is the Shakti of Gora? Gadadhar. And who is that Shakti? That is Radhika. So this Gora Shakti is none other than Sachinandan Bhaktivinoda Thakur. So by getting to know Bhaktivinoda Thakur, we are getting to know Srimati Radhika. By getting to know any of our Guru Vargya, Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Maharaj, Binod Manjari, getting to know his specialities, his boldness, his teachings, his brilliance of consciousness. I mean, I personally, that particular analogy of all the colors being represented by a golden form is very illuminating for us to appreciate, because it completely substantiates Shakti Tattva, which contains everything. So all of Shakti is represented as a golden form, whereas Krishna is always blackish with no color, even though he's Savivesh, he has form. Understand? So Bhakti, Srila Bhakti Prayan Keshav Maharaj, totally, and that brilliance he passed on to who? Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj. And who else? He passed on that same boldness and brilliance to Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada's courage to take these teachings to the Western world systematically, to bring us into what is Vaidhi Bhakti initially. He went to a place where I was and had never heard of Krishna in my life. Had you heard of Krishna when you were a child? No. Never even so much as heard the name Krishna. Never heard the name Krishna. It had never been around. In your country, it's been around all the time. But where we've come from, there was nothing. And this saint, he went into that land of darkness, empowered again by Srimati Radhika. So when we understand the glories of Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, we are understanding the glories of Srimati Radhika. It is her glories that are carrying this flag of Shuddha Bhakti, eventually becoming Braja Prem, Braja Bhakti. It's a sequence, though. That Braja Prem doesn't develop straight away without our understanding the pathways. First, it's a process, because our first inclination and desire is just to be liberated from the material sufferings. So our first desire is to attain liberation. So that Nirvishesh desire has to be purified. We talk constantly, Bhaktivinoda Thakur talks all the time, purifying karma and gyan, these two witches, bhukti mukti sprihadyavat, pischachi, Shridi Vartate, these two witches are lodged in the heart of material enjoyment and the desire for mukti. This desire for mukti goes back way so far. So Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada is representing Srimati Radhika. Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Maharaj representing Sri Radhika. Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati, so much. representing the courage and truth of Sri Radhika. And we as Vaishnavas must learn to represent the Shakti of Radhika. We ourselves must come to this platform. Why not? If we're genuine, if we actually want this gift of Vraja Prem, that will include having the responsibility of spreading the glories of Vraja Prem, because that was Mahaprabhu's mission, to spread these teachings all around the world. He said like that, in every town and village. My holy name. Krishna loves the sound of his name. You know, if you ever go into a big crowd, say some gathering, some assembly, and you don't really know anybody so well, but somebody calls your name from the other side of the room. Oh, someone is calling my name. I love the sound of my own name. Someone is calling, oh, Nirajji. Oh, immediately he's there listening. How does Krishna feel when he hears the sound of his name? He loves to hear the sound of his name. Govinda, Madhusudan, Keshava, Narayan, Madhav, all his beautiful names. When we put our tilak markings on, Krishna is listening. Are you putting the names on? Are you putting this tilak marking with my names? Is it supported with mantra? Om Keshavaya Namaha, Om Narayana Namaha, Om Madhavaya Namaha. Are we making that impression with the name? If we do, we'll get mercy from Krishna. You see, Krishna likes that, to hear his name, like we like to hear his name. We like to hear our names rather, but Krishna loves to hear his name. And Mahaprabhu from birth, he's lying in the cradle. And he only wants to hear the Mahamaya. He wants to hear the sound of his holy name. All the mothers, we're going to discuss in Gopanim Day, when Mahaprabhu makes his advent in a few days' time. Imagine, just in a few days, Mahaprabhu is going to advent on the planet. All these millions of people will all be celebrating the birth, just like in the time of Mahaprabhu, when Mahaprabhu made that advent on the Purnima day, on the what was it, the Falgun, what was it? Purnima, on that Purnima, when actually there was an eclipse on that day, and even the Muslims were chanting Hari Hari Hari. Yes, and when he appears, Advaita Acharya and Haridas, who are 30, 40 years older than Mahaprabhu, they were wondering, why is there so much jubilation? Everyone is chanting. Everyone is so happy. There's so much festivity. And then Advaita Acharya is thinking, someone very special. And then it's interesting, because Sita Devi, the wife of Advaita Acharya, it's described she goes to visit child Nimai, and she gives the name Nimai. And she gives tiger nails. She gives so many nice silk cloths to the new child, as if they're knowing who is this child. But then after that, Yogamaya, she covers their knowledge of that, because they don't know that he's that person that Advaita Acharya has been calling. Advaita Acharya was calling, but Nimai was still in a covered mood. And he was covered by his mood of the Pandit Leela, when he was acting like a Pandit, challenging the Vaishnavas, running after them on the street, trying to debate with them. And as soon as the Vaishnavas would say something, he would defeat them. And then he would defeat himself, and then he would defeat them again. And they just couldn't handle it. They would run away from him. Nimai Pandit. Incredible pastimes. But these are pastimes more like Krishna. Even though he has this Radha Bhav potential within his heart, as we've said, it's not going to really manifest till another Saki who understands Radhika can infuse his heart with it. That's Vishaka Devi, a Godavari. It doesn't really manifest until then. Up until that point, just the conception is there. But during the Ras Lila in Srivasangam, my Gurudev describes Navadvipa and Vrindavan, they're completely identical. So the Rasa Lila pastimes must be here. So where are the Rasa Lila pastimes taking place? in Srivasangam. So is Mahaprabhu tasting that Madanakya Mahabhav in Srivasangam that Sri Radhika tasted in that meeting? My Gurudev describes, yes, internally. That's why it's covered. And even the devotees sometimes don't appreciate these points. If the devotees but if they focus principally in their worship of Gaur Nitai, this is the preaching field. This is encouraging everyone to the path of bhakti, pure bhakti. But there is a path beyond this if we come to the lotus feet of Sachinandan Gaurahari, and he will carry us into Vrindavan Dham. That he'll do. Who would have had true insight to enter the sweet rapture of the forest of Vrindadevi and the power to render loving service to the mood of the damsels of Braj? This is what Narahari Sakha is describing. Who would have the insight to enter into the sweet rapture of the forest of Braj? We've said just before, those pastimes 5,000 years ago by Krishna were covered from the general populace. They were not open, they were not broadcast. Mahaprabhu has crashed that covering down. He's let us into Vrindavan. It's because of Mahaprabhu's mercy today that we can flourish in Vrindavan and recognize all the pastime places in Vrindavan. It's because of Mahaprabhu. When the Goswamis first went to Vrindavan, what was the condition of Vrindavan when Lokanath, Urgabo, they were the first? What was the condition of Vrindavan? Just mosquitoes, dense jungle. Huh? Forest. Not just forest, dense forest. Uninhabitable. That must have been tough for the Goswamis. Lokanath Goswami described he lives for about 120 years. He's born on in the same day, the same year as Mahaprabhu. They're the same age. So, but he's an older. He doesn't leave when all the parikars leave. He remains. But what tapasya and austerities must they have endured? There would have been water there, obviously from streams, Mother Jamuna there, and shelter, etc. But even Sanatan Goswami, when he takes Madan Mohan, he tells Madan Mohan, I can only offer you flower balls, no salt. I have no salt. They had no salt in the Vrindavan forest at that time. He had some atta. Somehow some local Brijbasi would bring some atta and he would make balls and he would throw them in the embers of the fire, very hard balls. And after feeding this to Madan Mohan, after a few days, Madan Mohan said, just a little bit of salt. My stomach can't digest. My stomach is just not able to digest this ball. Try sometime eating just a flour ball with no salt or anything. So Madan Mohan was like that. And then what did he do? He manifested a whole boat load of salt to get caught on a sandbank close by. That merchant who donated everything to the beauty of. But the Goswamis, when they first came to Vrindavan, it was very, very, very austere. But they were establishing the beauty of Vrindavan as it was 5,000 years ago. It's described that Sanatan Goswami, when he came to Mathura and Vrindavan, he carefully went to different places to procure maps of Vrindavan, ancient maps, because Brajanaba, the great grandson of Krishna, had manifested so many deities in Vrindavan to remind the world of Krishna's pastimes. All over Brajanaba had been, and he'd established many deities and places of worship. But in 5,000 years, just think, 5,000 years back, I mean, we have Christianity began 2,000 years ago. What relics are there today from 2,000 years ago? Practically nothing. What to speak of 5,000 years ago? So when the Goswamis came to Vrindavan, there was nothing. There was nothing to remind them except the Jamuna. So Sanatan Goswami, he diligently, it's described, collects many maps, ancient maps, to start to discover where are all these holy places. And then for so long the Goswamis are searching. You remember the pastime of the discovery of Govindadev, when Rupa Goswami is lamenting because he knows that there's Thakurjis here, but he hasn't been directed to any of them. Then that young boy, he comes and says, oh, one cow is squirting her milk into a hole just up the road here. Rupa Goswami goes there and discovers this amazing deity of Govindadev, not Radhika. Radhika, she was not there, just Govindadev. So the whole pastime of the introduction of Radhika to Braj even was not an instant process. Actually, it was Janavamata who sent these deities up to Vrindavan to be with their partners, so to speak, with Govindadev and Madan Mohan and Gopinath. Janavadevi, she sends these deities. So all this history is there. But what I'm just describing here is how Narahari Sakar, he's saying that if Mahaprabhu had not manifested, the Goswamis would not have come to Vrindavan. Therefore, how would we today, we would have just driven past there in the car, gone by there on the train or some jungle, not even knowing anything about it. But because of the Goswamis' diligent seva, now today we have a whole city of Vrindavan with all these magnificent temples. Something like what, 5,500 temples? Huh?
5,500.
Yeah, 5,500 temples in Vrindavan. Every household practically is a temple, particularly Madan Mohan and what is it? Radharaman Mandir and Radha Damodar, Gokulananda, Radha Gopinath. I said Radha Damodar. Radha Sham Sundar. Who else? I said Radharaman. Radha Ballabh. Yes. All of these temples were actually there previously, and they were uncovered by the Goswamis, who were directed by who? By Gaur Sundar. That's what he's saying. How would we have come to understand the forest of Vrindavan without the direction of Mahaprabhu? Mahaprabhu is Krishna, and he knew, because when Mahaprabhu actually goes to Vrindavan, he becomes this Shamras, starts to flood his consciousness. That's why he only stays 10 days practically. He's with that Sanodian Brahmana from Mathura, who was a disciple of Madhavendra Puri, and he's with Balabhabhata Acharya, his servant. And he's visiting all the different forests, and he's seeing the cows. You imagine what the cows must have been like in those times. Thousands and thousands of beautiful, beautiful, beautiful cows. There are still thousands of cows. What to speak of 3,000, 2,000 years ago, 500 years ago when they were there. The cows must have been roaming in their thousands. You want that on? Then we have to close the window behind you. So, who would have had the insight to enter the sweet rapture of the forest of Vrindadevi without the inspiration of Mahaprabhu? And the power to render loving service in the mood of the damsels of Vraja. Who knew about the gopis' prema after Krishna had left this world? Who understood that? Who understood the moods of the gopis? Krishna was just in Kurukshetra. Krishna spent 100 years in Dwarka, Mathura, defeating Jarasandha. So many demons he was defeating, Dantavakra, etc. He was not talking about the gopis. The gopis' influence didn't manifest outside of Vrindavan. Who would have any idea? It's not just the beauty and speciality of the gopis, but the gopis' prema. The gopis are not human beings. They are Krishna's Shaktis, manifested directly from Sri Radhika's form, her Kaya Vyuha, all to please Krishna. That's who they are. And they possess the highest upasana, worship, in existence. What's that beautiful verse? Aradayo Bhagavan Brajesha Tanayas Tat Dharma Vrindavanyam Ramya Kachit Upasana Braja Vardur Vargena Vakalpite. Yes, you see, this is the highest form of worship in existence, the highest demonstration of love to Krishna. And by Mahaprabhu's advent, he has shown us that this is our aspiration for this Gopi Prem. We have to think about these things regularly. This is what this Goradam can offer that person who is familiar with these truths. Then these truths will expand more. If we're just searching still for liberation and a happy life, we will get that also. At the expense, though, of the missing the opportunity for this Gopi Prem. We have to cultivate our consciousnesses towards Gopi Prem. So this is the second verse here. With a simple heart, always sing about Gauranga's glorious qualities. I cannot see even one person as compassionate as he in the ocean of material existence. This is an ocean of material existence. Who is more compassionate than Mahaprabhu? Mahaprabhu is that Audarya mood. He's giving. He's giving this prem. Krishna wasn't like that. Krishna was tasting that prem. He was relishing the prem for himself. That wasn't his intention. Leela Purushottam, performing his leelas, his spellbinding leelas, knowing that he would advent 5,000 years later to give entrance into those leelas. And what a confidential world he's led us into. Mahaprabhu has led us into through the teachings of Rupa Goswami and the teachings also of Srila Krishna's Kaviraj. When we read the Govinda Lilamrita, we read these beautiful books, and Srila Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur at Krishna Bhavanamrita, these books describing Krishna's Astakalya Lila, these eightfold pastimes of the day. These eightfold pastimes of the day in Navadvipa, in Gaura Lila, is what is Nitya. If the pastimes don't fall into the Astakalya Lila of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, they are naimitic. That means all the pastimes of Puri are naimitic because they don't fall into Naralila. It's not Naralila when Mahaprabhu demonstrates those sattvic abhavs. That's not Naralila. You understand all these things? Who could be more compassionate? This Karunamai Shakti, this compassionate, this mood of Audarya. And then, huh?
Is not Nityananda more compassionate?
It's not a question of more, really. It's speciality. It's called Vaishishtya. It's speciality. Nityananda is so compassionate because he brings us to Mahaprabhu, who is going to again demonstrate the nature of that. He's so compassionate to bring us to Mahaprabhu. Mahaprabhu is so compassionate to bring us to Vraja Prem, Vraja Dham, to open that world of the Gopis Prem. Mahaprabhu is opening that world. But Nityananda Prabhu is so compassionate principally to the lower conditioned souls, to all the conditioned souls, those conditioned souls who don't have any adhikar whatsoever, like us. We don't have any adhikar. We need the mercy of Nityananda so much to bring us to Mahaprabhu. And without that mercy from Nityananda we described yesterday, like Raghunath Das, for example, could not um, come to Mahaprabhu without Nityananda's mercy. Jagai and Madai. We are like Jagai and Madais. We can't come to Mahaprabhu without Nityananda's mercy. We are begging. We are here in Surabhikunj, which is the home of Nityananda. This is Nityananda Rai's principal preaching place, where he began the marketplace of the holy name, was here. And without Nityananda's kripa, we can't actually come to Mahaprabhu. So we embrace everything in Nityananda's compassionate gifts that he's offering to the world. We can even appreciate, like Raghunath Das, for example. Raghunath Das in Puri, he didn't get the highest appreciation of Vraja Prem while he was in Puri with Mahaprabhu. Swarup Damodar opened some little windows. He was there for 14 years directly with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. But it wasn't until he came to the association of Rupa and Goswami, Rupa and Sanatan in Vrindavan, that all of these truths of who is Radhika blossomed in his heart. He didn't have that in Puri. So it's just another consideration of the speciality of Mahaprabhu and his gifts. You understand? Even though I chant Gauranga, my heart has not melted. Is that true? I think all your hearts have melted. I'm the only one whose heart hasn't melted. I know that. You are all having your imaginations, but my heart is like a rock. Well, no, don't follow me. I'm pointing in the direction of Mahaprabhu and Nityananda. That's the place we want to go to. Even though I chant Gauranga, my heart has not melted. How do I continue to maintain my body? This indicates utsaha, enthusiasm. I'm going to die unless I get this prem. How can I live without this infusion? This is what we pray for. Please, dear Lord, infuse me with this focus on Gopi Prem. Give me that connection with Srimati Radhika. It's with Sri Radhika who is the most merciful, the most compassionate. It's with her that I want this relationship in service. That is what Mahaprabhu has come to give. Swa Bhakti Shriyam. Swa, own bhakti, Krishna's own bhakti, Shriyam. The beauty of Krishna's own bhakti is Manjari Bhav. That's the beauty of his own bhakti. This is how Rupa Goswami, again, it's Rupa Goswami who has described this clearly. Everything is on the back of Rupa Goswami. He is the principal personality in our line. He's the principal connection with Sri Radhika. That's how he is empowered to be the principal connection in our line. He's giving us Sri Radhika directly. And he gave this to Raghunath. Raghunath didn't have that previously. Not from Lalita, Swarup Damodar. Not from Rai Ramananda, even though he was with them. They didn't give him Sakhi Bhav. Because actually he's Rati Manjari. He's a Manjari. That's his eternal Swarup. So try to understand, appreciate these things. Even though I chant Gauranga, my heart has not melted. How do I continue to maintain this body? How has Narahari been created with a stone in place of a heart? This is how the Acharyas feel. They feel they have nothing. Why do they feel they have nothing? Because their vision is so high, they're perceiving the transcendental reality on such an incredible platform, and they realize that that's the place they're going for. And then that reflects back to them in their conditioned life, and they see how fallen they are because they're still maintaining their bodily life and airs in this world. Like Krishnadas Kaviraj, He says, even if you say my name, it's committing aparad. He says, I am lower than a worm in stool. They're not exaggerating when they say like that. This is genuinely how they feel. But it's very, very difficult and tough for devotees, especially Western devotees in this world, to appreciate this point, because many times there is a mental disease in the West of low self-esteem. This is a disease. It's a bodily dysfunction, a mental dysfunction. And many have that because of bad sanskar in their family upbringings and all kinds of different influences that have created that low self-esteem. And they get confused when they hear these things. They think, oh, perhaps Narahari had low self-esteem. No, 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 not at all, not at all, not at all. He is genuinely appreciating the very highest pinnacle of devotion to Krishna and recognizing that he doesn't have that. Therefore, his heart hasn't melted. He's not thinking like there's something wrong with me or something like that. But this is very common, I know. In the Western world, many devotees shared with me over the time, that they feel this dysfunction. Yeah, I don't know if in India it's so prevalent, this low self-esteem. Certainly in the Western world it's very, isn't it, Shovrani? Yeah, it's very present. So sometimes the Westerners in particular, they get confused about this point. They think this low self-esteem is like Krishnadas Kaviraj is, but it's not anything. It's not even in the same um, planetary place at all. It's in a whole nother different place. Because my Gurudev said specifically, knowing this point was there in the West, he said, don't become hopeless. He would say this many, 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 many times. Because sometimes when these truths, they seem to evaporate periodically. And we should understand this is like meeting and separation. Krishna will take us to a high appreciation of his sweetness and speciality. And then perhaps the next day, boom, it'll disappear. Why? Because then we'll have to work very hard to get it back again. And then we get it back for some time, and then it goes. And we have to run after it like that. If you don't have that mood of savor to wake that up, then how can it be dynamic? It's just like meeting and separation in the ultimate reality of Radha and Krishna. That meeting and separation are there for the exact same purpose, to nourish the sweetness of the meeting when there's separation there. The hunger has to be extreme. If you're extremely hungry, you will eat even, dry roti with no ghee or anything. You'll eat it happily if you're really hungry. But if you're not really hungry, even the most sumptuous offering won't even interest you. So to have that fire of appetite is part of the dynamic to connect with transcendence. It must be there. It must be there. It must be there. It has to be there. That greed, that enthusiasm. We must have that feeling of practically desperation. Oh my God, if I don't get this, what is the value of my life? I will die. Have that feeling. Don't be afraid to go down that road. Then we pray piteously. Then we call more piteously, more strongly, more sincerely. Krishna, I want this. I want this.
In Indian culture, because of Sanatana Dharma,
Yes.
we are like taught from the very beginning that as the knowledge you gain more knowledge, you become more humble.
Yes. Beautiful.
Vidya dadati vinayam vinaya dhyati patrata means
Yes.
so that's there from the very beginning.
It's beautiful.
So whoever like says that, it's like they're kept very means that conception of low self-esteem is not
Yes.
at all there.
Yes. I understand that. I understand that. It's a different conception from the Western world.
Yes.
And my time in India has really made me appreciate that. The Indian psyche consciousness is so much higher than the Western consciousness.
Anybody taking up spirituality itself is like we respect them. It's like no,
Yes.
like or they've taken saffron or something.
Yes.
They're like
Yes.
above us.
But actually, it's not a fact. Actually, the reality is that the Indian personality has a more clear, sober, patient, tolerant nature than the mad, crazy Westerners. And what is achintya and astonishing is that the Indians have followed the mad, crazy Westerners for generations, thinking that they will get this material glitter because that's the distraction from Krishna. Like when we read in the 5th canto about the subterranean heavenly planets, they have more beautiful objects than they do in Swarga. Bali Maharaj's planet is more beautiful than Swarga externally, because they're all rushing for that external, and that's the covering that restricts you from getting to the internal, the actual connection with transcendence. We've been cheated, tricked, and the whole of Bharatvarsha has been tricked. Your generation and 2-3 generations back, all those young men running to the Western world, thinking that they will get something more, that they're not even thinking about the jewels of India that are here. When Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada first went to the Western world, he was speaking in London at an assembly. He said, "You Britishers, you came and you took everything from India. But there's one thing that you didn't take, and I've come to give it to you now. And that's transcendental knowledge. You didn't take that. That was the thing you should have taken. That was the greatest jewel of India. And you didn't take that. You took all the external jewels, the coverings, which actually relieved India of a burden, because people were so envious of all these wealth that India had by nature. I mean, there are descriptions in India of temples with caves under the ground packed with gold. So much wealth externally was here in India.
Some more temples, it's there like that only.
Yes.
Still now.
Till now, yes, I know. Yeah, I've read.
Tirupati Balaji in
Yes.
south.
Yes.
It's like fully opulent temple.
Yes.
Like crores and crores of rupees come
Yes.
inside the temple.
Yes.
And people put gold and jewelries in
Yes.
the donation boxes.
Wow. It's amazing.
Still, it's opulent.
It's beautiful.
So much.
It's beautiful. But we pray for the day when this land will find its confidence again and lead the rest of the world to the spiritual truth. So we should begin our preaching here in India to encourage their confidence, to make an example to the rest of the world. What are you going to say?
You know, back to your Acharyas Sridhar Maharaj, that remark of people believe they need their false ego to hide the horror of their own insignificance.
Yes.
But when you get a true Vaishnav, they embrace their own insignificance,
Yes.
which is why we can have those comments, because
Yes.
it's their
Very true.
humility.
Very true. Very nice. I hope everyone heard what he said. The beautiful comment by Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Maharaj that the only reason we have a false ego is to shield us from the horror of our absolute insignificance. But these personalities we've been speaking about, like Narahari with a stone in his heart, or Krishna's Kaviraj like a worm, his own insignificance is revealed to him. And he understands his own insignificance because his false ego has been completely purified. So he's appreciating his absolute insignificance. That's a very high platform. Nice comment. Thank you. Yeah, so today I actually didn't have a class scheduled except just to sing this bhajan. And yesterday we discussed these distinctions between Puri and Navadvipa and trying to set our consciousnesses fully on appreciating the speciality and glories of Navadvipa Dham. So that's what we uncovered yesterday in that essay. And we should understand also one other thing, that Vishnu Priya and Lakshmi Priya, my Gurudev has described, they are like with a mood of Vaikuntha Bhav, Aishwarya, in fact. Even though their pastimes are so extraordinary and sweet, and we relish to hear their pastimes, but they were supporting a mood of the Lakshmis of Vaikuntha. The three Lakshmis, Nila, Bhu, and what's the other one? Nila, Shri, Nila, and Bhu. These three Lakshmis. Gokul, you have to come to school. We have to teach you more things. These three energies, Shri, Bur, and Nila. They represent, Shri is beauty and opulence specifically, like in Vaikuntha. And Bur is like the manifestation of this earthly planet. And that they're Shaktis, they're personalities in Vaikuntha. So they've taken shelter of Mahaprabhu. Mahaprabhu accepted their shelter for his Leela, because in his Leela, he's performing his Nara Leela here in Navadvip, in his human-like pastimes, and they were conducive for that. But when he met Ishvara Puripad, then he had to set Vishnu Priya aside, and then he wanted to renounce this world, just so that he could experience the sweetness of Radhika's love. But as I described at the beginning today, this embracing the sannyas ashram is Naimitic Leela. My Gurudeva said specifically, there are no dandas in Goloka Vrindavan, in Gokul. No dandas. Remember that expression. There's no dandas in Gokul. So it should be clear, just from that one expression, of the speciality of Puridam, because it holds the Dwarka conception of opulence. And that opulence is the opulence of Mahaprabhu experiencing the devastating Vipralamba mood of Sri Radhika and how much she loves him. That's what he's experiencing in Puri. But it's naimitic, it's a temporary pastime.
What is Neela? Oh,
Huh?
Neela Lakshmi. Neela.
Nila.
Neela Shakti.
That's the pastime place itself.
Leela.
Neela.
Nila or Leela?
Leela.
This is the pastime place itself. There's these three Lakshmis, Shri, Bur, and Nila. Listen to me, Nila. Nila. And the Shri is the beauty, and the Bur is earth. And Nila are like the activities, the pastimes, the holy dhams. This is Nila, these three Shaktis. But they're Shaktis, they're Lakshmis. They're Lakshmis originally from Vaikuntha. That's who they are. And they've come to Goradam to perform the pastime of acting as Krishna's wife in Goradam. Goradam is packed with different considerations, different appreciations. And we can understand these appreciations by understanding the distinctions between Puri and Navadvip. If we didn't have Puri to compare to Navadvip, we wouldn't appreciate Navadvip so much.
Maharaj, you said about Naimatik and Nitya Leela.
Yeah.
So in Gokul, that is Nitya Dham.
Yes.
In Golok.
Yes.
Is there Yashodama or Nandababa?
Yes, there's a conception there, but I've asked this question also many times, and I sort of shake at the reality. I don't really want.
Because Bhaktivinoda Thakur says that the Gokul, Bhoma Vrindavana is.
They are fully spiritual personalities, because we know who is Drona and Dara and all the different births they take like that. But in pure Astakalya Lila are just the pastimes with Radha and Krishna ultimately. That is the Astakalya Lila. So that is the Nitya Lila. And everything else may be in conception only. But Nanda Baba is there.
With that connection, I want to ask one more question.
What?
So we have different dharas coming.
Yes.
So suppose you take Vallabhacharya,
Yeah.
or if you take Hitari Vanch, means whatever, they have a different Nitya Vihar conception of Radharani and Krishna, which is
more marital, Swakiya.
So when a sadhak who follows that parampara and goes, so they have a different Leela, something like that.
It's like the Babajis basically in Uchagan. We went there one day with my Gurudev, and they were from that Vallabha Sampradaya, and they all thought that Radha and Krishna were married. They were convinced of that. And my Gurudev purified that whole misconception.
No, not I'm saying about our, even in Gaudiya, there is
Hmm.
different, like some have little variations they have. So how do that
What sort of variations?
no, Parakya itself in Puri.
Parakya is there as the standard,
Mm,
you mean?
yes.
And then what variation on top of that?
For example,
One Acharya may explain the Parakya in a certain way,
mm,
and then another Acharya will not contradict that,
not
but
contradiction.
make an addition.
Yes.
So all the Acharyas, they offer something new,
Mm.
in fact, of their perception. And it builds, like my Gurudev offered so many things. And sometimes people would ask, well, where is that written? And occasionally my Gurudev would say, well, this is what has come in my heart. And he would perceive it in that way.
So that's Nitya. It's
If
apnea.
he's seeing it, if it's connected to Nitya Lila. Yes. We must be clear on what is Nitya and Naimitic. And what is Nitya basically is the Astakalya Lila. If we read and absorb ourselves in the Astakalya Lila, that is, like in the 38th chapter of Jaiva Dhamma, the Astakalya Lila is there. Very clear. Bhaktivinoda Thakur gives it to us. Vrinda Devi is speaking it. Shivji is there speaking also. Narad is there also. And they're hearing the Astakalya Lila. This Radha Kripa Kataksha. This is Astakalya Lila, pastimes. And Namami Nandanandanam. This is Astakalya Lila, pastimes. So particularly the Rasa Panchadiya. These are the Astakali Lila. But it doesn't minimize the Naimitic Lila, because the Naimitic Lila is still there in conception form, conceptual. So it's still there.
But in Ashtakalya Leela also they are mentioning about Yashoda Maya because she is giving food to
Yes,
Krishna.
so there is this conception there,
He is going to
but
cowherd.
her actual presence in the Lila, yes. I'll tell you tomorrow. I have to think about it. That's not an easy one. I thought about this for a long time. No one has conclusively satisfied me answering that. But it's good you asked. It's a good
So
question.
we hear many of these Vaishnava acharyas singing and saying that they're palmer, means they're very low. But if you see their qualities and all, they're like more transcendental, means they have all these transcendental qualities. Now, for example, if you see Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Sharanagati or any other song,
Hmm.
he ends by saying that I'm very low, I'm not qualified. But if you see their means they're all spiritual personalities, and still they're saying like this. So how do we take this, and what is?
Well, it's all in a teaching mood. It's all teaching us, but it's the same what Gopi said. They are recognizing their absolute insignificance in this realm. They are writing in this world.
Hmm.
And they're recognizing they're holding a pen. Their body is active, but they're recognizing their insignificance for our benefit. Because what is the greatest impediment that we have? It's our pride. Always our pride. It's our greatest obstacle for our progress. Mahaprabhu, he's giving us Trinadapi, unless we actually can embrace that. Kirtanya Sadhari Hari. We can't chant Hare Krishna. We can't even begin. So they are always demonstrating this mood of please, please take a humble mood. And if more are encouraged towards that humble mood, the natural atmosphere of the planet will become so much more sattvic. Obviously, what is the reason for so much agitation of passion and tamas on the planet is because of that pride. Oh, I'm better than you. I want what you've got. And all the fighting and all the etc. has all stemmed from this, which is envy.
But humility doesn't come to us naturally. We fake it, so that again is not humility. Because before we read this, we have that sort of ego in
But
us.
sometimes little drops of reality, of appreciation of what is, it'll take our breath away sometimes when we realize the greatness of Krishna. This is how we can appreciate our insignificance. The more we appreciate his glory and the glory of the spiritual world, then we fade into complete insignificance. So that's the purification or the purifying factor, isn't it? So therefore, when I hear Bhagavad Gita initially as a young devotee, then it will bring my false ego down, and some purification will have taken place, and I'll start the process of actually understanding the real insignificance of this material self. Then I can easily drop it. At the time of death, if we realize that, then just in a flash we can just let it go. We won't be looking to hold on to it. Because at the time of death, I was describing to someone the other day, it's like this, the death of the body, and then the mind and the ego are still functioning in the subtle world, in the astral world. So if there's attachments there, which there will be, unless we purify them on the gross plane, we'll carry them into the subtle plane, and then we'll have to either come back and fulfill them, or we can be liberated from them forever, if we put Krishna at the center. It's a question of faith. It's always the deepening of this Shraddha. Ultimately, always, always Shraddha. And you're lucky you're born with it.
Mhm.
Yes, you are. It's the truth. You see, this is your humility. Okay, look, I'm going to stop. I'm just beginning to ramble a little. But all these topics are exceptional about the glories of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his Leelas, and the distinction between these two dhams to elevate our consciousnesses to appreciating the supremacy of Navadvipa. That was the title of the essay we read yesterday, The Supremacy of Navadvipa. And as we wander around in the next few days in Navadvipa, have that conviction of the supremacy of this dham. It even is superior in some ways to Vrindavan, because it has that audarya, it has that special quality of magnanimity. Even coming from, the Colombian jungles, you can get kripa here. It doesn't matter where you've come from. You can still, I told you the example my Gurudev used to say in Krishna Leela, you come with a pot and Krishna will decide if he's going to fill it or not. Yayata mam prapadyante. But in Gora Leela, he gives you the pot and it's already full. You don't even have to do anything. But in Gora Leela, the pastime places are not exposed yet. So when we go to Radhakund, it's still Bar Kobla, it doesn't look as if it's as attractive as we see in Braj. In Braj, there's Giriraj Govardhan. We can wander around, think of all those pastimes, which is incredibly purifying. But if we come here, and this wonderfully is a saver for us in the future, to know where all these places are, according to Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Navadvipa Mahatmya, and to like there's a place up here called what's it called, that Hridai? I spoke about it once before. Gaur Hrida. Gaur Hrida is mentioned in the what's that?
Jaivadharma.
Gadadhar Astakam.
In Jaivadharma.
In Jaivadharma also is mentioned this Gaur Hrida. It's a place where Mahaprabhu purified a crocodile. Gaura Hrida. And I shared the devotees before, I was looking for it, wondering where it was, because I thought it was close by. And I was living in a previous place, and I was in the grocer's shop, and I met one old man who spoke very good English. And I said, "Oh, where do you live?" He said, Gorhida. I said, "Oh my God, where's that?" And then he took me there. It was only about a mile up the road from where I'd met him at that grocery shop. And you know where in Fakir Tala, where we live, there's where that computer shop is, there's a road that goes to the left before. If you go right up that road, it's on the way to Harihara Ketra in a back road. And up that road, about 2 kilometers, you come to, actually, it looks like a lake for about half a mile, because it's now all changed with cultivation and so on. But that exact spot is Gaur Khrida. Even the village is called Gaur Khrida. So that's the actual place.
Srida mean heart?
Khrida means pond, lake. Gaur Khrida, no, that's hard. But all of these places are waiting to be discovered by the enthusiastic devotees like Sobrani. I'm talking to you particularly. You have the energy to move to all these places. You have to get the maps and start looking. And we have to see, go on the bikes and find out where are all these places, and then put a flag up. Like Bhaktivinoda Thakur is putting a flag saying, this is Terkadamba, this is Nandagon. He's put the flag there. Now devotees know. Actually, devotees aren't so familiar that this is Terkadamba. I only discovered this yesterday. Although I'd read this before, it never registered that this is Terkadamba.
Well, why can't we have a plug?
A what? A plaque to say this is Terkadamba. Because my Gurudev said, well, my Gurudev has to be accepted as the authority for a start. And he's accepted by me, but he's not accepted by everybody else, you know? So that also has to...
Because when they come for parikrama, they can see.
We'll tell them all that. And then after some months or years, then eventually somebody will put a sign up. And we'll have to do more than that. We'll plan it. We'll make a strategy. We'll let them know. Okay. Navadvipa Dham ki jai. Puri Dham ki jai. Sachinandana Gaurahari ki jai. Nitai Gauranga Jaya. Nitai Gauranga. Nitai Gauranga Jaya. Nitai Gauranga Jaya. Nitai Gauranga. Nitai Gauranga Jaya Gaura Hari. Nitai Gauranga Jaya Gaura Hari. Gaura 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 Hari. Gaura 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 Hari. Jaya Sachinandana Jaya Sachinandana Jai Sachinandana Gaura Hari. Oh Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Gaura Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari. Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Gaura Hari Bol. Jaya Nityananda Rai, Jaya Nityananda Rai, Nityananda Rai, Jaya Nityananda Rai. Oh Nitai He, 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 Nitai He. Jaya Sachinandan Jaya Gaura Hari, Sachinandan Jaya Gaura Hari. Gaura He, 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 Gaura He. Jaya Radha, Madana Mohan Radha, Madana Mohan Radhe. Jaya Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Shri Radhe. Oh Radhe, 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 Radhe. Go Premanandi, Hari Hari Bol, Srila Gurudev ki jai, Arupa Nuga Guru Vargya ki jai, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur ki jai, Gora Dharm ki jai, Sri Dham Mayapur ki jai. Tomorrow is Antardvip. Tomorrow we go to Sri Dham Mayapur and we'll walk over the Jalangi, the Saraswati, and we'll walk up to all the different mutts, and then we'll come to the Yog Pit, We'll take darshan there. Then we'll go to Chaitanya Mat. Then we'll go to the Chandkazi in Simantadweep. And then we can also touch on Sridham, Kolavecha Sridhar's place. And we'll find some other interesting places along the way. But that's where we'll be going tomorrow.
Tomorrow is Ekadashi or?
No, next day is Ekadashi. Thursday is Ekadashi. Tomorrow is the first day of the Parikrama. It's Antardweep. Antardweep, and we'll be traveling there tomorrow. And then the next day, that's on Thursday, will be Ekadashi, and we'll go to Rudradweep. The day after, we'll come back here to Godrum Dweep. Then after that, we'll go to Champahati, and Samudraga. And on the final day, we'll go to Modurum Dweep and Mamgachi and Janadweep. So that's the order that we're going to be traveling around the Dham. So Sachinandan Gaura Hari Ki Jai. Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhavevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnave Namo Namaha.